So let's talk about that. What's kind of the history behind what you put in it, why you put in it? I know you got some history on the herbs and things like that. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. And this is really exciting for us because we recognize what CBD can do. And we're also not going to try to oversell it. We're not going to say CBD is a cure for anything. And so we've actually begun exploring other botanicals and nutrients that we want to formulate with, because our goal isn't just to kind of ride the CBD train forever. It's to really help people. And that's where we recognize other nutrients do have such an important role. So CV Acute is hemp free, it's CBD free. For some people, they are concerned about even trace amounts of cannabinoids in their products. And it's actually based on a traditional Chinese medicinal formula. And TCM, this is up to 3,000-year-old practice that involves acupuncture and manual therapy, massage therapy, diet, lifestyle, and herbalism. And so these herbs that are in the CV Acute formula are specific for supporting healthy respiratory and immune function. And specifically, it's the flower of honeysuckle, the root of Bicol skullcap, and the fruit of forsythia. And when you look at the research on these parts of the plants, they contain molecules that have been studied in both humans, rodents, and cell cultures to produce antiviral effects, immunomodulatory effects, and anti-inflammatory effects. That's just based on the research out there. And specifically, if you go to pubmed.gov, if you go to one of these research databases, and I know this sounds kind of like a long word, and I apologize if I'm not correctly pronouncing it, but in China, this formula is known as shuanghuanglian. And when you type in shuanghuanglian on PubMed, SHL for short, and you can find all of these studies indicating the various cellular processes by which these herbs can support the immune system.
Yeah, and very good point. A lot of people are surprised to find out in America, when you talk about Chinese medicine, which I've had several years of training in, people always think of acupuncture, and that is true. But the fact is, when you go to China and you're being treated with Chinese medicine, actually Chinese herbal medicine is much more commonly used. And it makes sense because obviously there's a lot more conditions you can treat with herbal medicine. People can take the herbs and be treated at home. You can't always come in to get acupuncture treatment. So Chinese herbal medicine has, like you said, a tremendous amount of history behind it, but people are very surprised to find out, and they shouldn't be, there are a lot of studies published on these Chinese herbs, obviously published in Chinese medical journals, but published in European journals, and we got published studies here in America as well. So there's a lot more science behind it than people think. And of course, the nice thing is you have all these thousands of years of use. So obviously, when you got millions and millions of doses being used, you can get an idea of the safety and effectiveness. And then you have the modern studies kind of showing the mechanisms, confirming the safety and all that. So Chinese medicine, I think it's underrated in America in terms of the Chinese herbs, but it's starting to become more recognized. And most doctors don't have training in Chinese medicine, so they just don't utilize it. But it's a smart idea that you had or your group had to start using that in these immune formulas. So how would you recommend someone use the CV Acute formula? I mean, when people around them are sick at the first sign of symptoms, how do you recommend that?
Well, first off, what you just said was beautifully stated. I appreciate that sentiment, that the totality of evidence between historical use and all these modern clinical findings, to me anyway, suggests that there really might be something going on here. The way that this is intended to be used, and this is based on both historical as well as modern evidence, is to start taking it the moment you feel it. Right? And in traditional Chinese medicine, they talk about 5-element theories, and I'm not a trained acupuncturist or anything like that, so I can't really speak to that. But my understanding is that this SHL formula in China is one of the leading formulas for certain type of common cold known as a wind heat invasion, right? So what I kind of take that to mean is when you feel the fire burning your throat and the wind causing you chills, that's the time that you're like, okay, I need to reach for CV Acute. That rather than using this as an everyday supplement, that this is kind of your break glass in case of emergency product. And you take it 3 times a day for 3 days, and then the bottle is done. the bottle is done, because the intention there is to deeply and very rapidly support the immune system to set it up for success over the next couple of days.
Yeah, which makes sense. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's exactly how they prescribe herbs. Normally given for 2 to 3 days. The patient should be doing better, or they change the formula. So if you don't have significant improvement 2 to 3 days, then you probably need something else. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, what about people who are worried about their immune system over the long run? There's a certain virus that's going around, which the FTC doesn't like us to talk medically about,
Right.
but people are looking for long-term immune support. There's, hundreds of different viruses. There's bacterial infections. So people are susceptible, let's say, to upper respiratory tract infections. You have the CV defense formula. So that's a totally different approach. Tell us about the logic that went into making that formula.
Absolutely. This is a doctor-formulated combination of both botanicals and nutrients, nutraceuticals, and specifically focuses on herbs and nutrients that are really meant to support barrier immune defense, innate immune defense, and adaptive immune defense. And I want to be clear, like, the pandemic is on everybody's mind. This is not a cure or a treatment for any disease whatsoever. But we recognize, based on the nutritional science, that feeding our immune system with various types of minerals and vitamins and botanicals can modulate the system and can nourish it and enable it to be as strong as we would hope it to be. The star of the show in CV Defense is an ingredient I'm very excited about called PEA. I know that you're excited about PEA as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And PEA stands for palmitoyl ethanolamide. And it is an endocannabinoid-like molecule that we produce inside of our bodies. I think, based on that property and based on the fact that PEA works within this system, that especially for people that were hesitant to try CBD, man, PEA is going to be the next CBD. Once people really start to understand and feel it and take it and receive a benefit from it, because there is some pretty robust evidence suggesting a benefit, I think that PEA is going to get very popular in the next couple of years.
That's true. I remember a few years ago looking at the published research, and being in the integrative medicine field, I was shocked how many published, well-designed studies there were. And this information really hasn't gotten out even to the doctors yet, let alone the public. So it's amazing how many well-designed published studies are on PEA.
Right. I think it's somewhere around 800 different preclinical studies and almost 40 human placebo-controlled clinical studies. And they cover a range of different health outcomes. There's a lot of studies with PEA on joint comfort, general comfort and discomfort, but also intestinal permeability, leaky gut. And there's actually a variety of studies that were done on immune function in particular. And what happened is, and I think maybe one of the reasons why PEA is not quite as popular, at least in the West or something, and I don't know if this is true, but this is a story that I've been mulling over in my head. I can't help but wonder if it kind of got locked behind the Iron Curtain, because they actually did all of these studies in the 1970s in the Czechoslovak Socialist Republic. And they would enroll like thousands and thousands of workers in one of the biggest factories in Central Eastern Europe.
Hey, Miles, did they have a choice?
I don't know. I
knows,
didn't
right?
maybe if I read Czech, I could really dive into the actual. But, it's kind of like, okay, let's take this group of workers and we'll feed them this pill. And we'll take this group of workers and we'll feed them this pill. And one group was given placebo and the other group was given PEA. And they found that the group, over the course of the cold season, they just measured how they were doing. And they found that the group that was given PEA every day promoted a huge amount of protection against seasonal respiratory infections. That this group experienced less sore throats, headaches, fevers, that they, in one of the studies involving thousands of people, there was upwards of 60% protection in a significant amount of protection in the group that was given PEA compared to placebo. And when you look at the photos of this factory, like, you could really understand why they were, trying to, find like a nutritive protective ingredient that could help people. Because this is a massive factory that was involved with the production of Soviet tanks and industrial cranes and automobiles. So definitely they were interested in various nutritional tools that could help their people. And now we get
Yeah.
to understand the benefits of those ingredients. And I just think it's fabulous that this is something that is produced, in our bodies, that you can find it in small quantities in food, and you can prepare it as a capsule and it absorbs intact, and we can hopefully receive these benefits from it.
Right. And you also put in some reishi into the formula as well, right? A well-known medicinal mushroom, which has been shown to have benefits for the immune system as well.
Absolutely. The reishi mushroom is referred to in Japanese medicine as one of the immortality mushrooms. It's used for stress management, but in particular, the beta glucans that are in kind of the cell wall of the reishi mushroom they activate our natural killer cells, which kind of sits right at the seesaw, kind of the intersection between innate immunity and adaptive immunity. They're really important cell population to keep happy, if you will.
Right. I know reishi has some good studies on it in terms of just assisting the liver and body in detoxification as well.
You pair that with some selenium, which is involved with the production of the master antioxidant glutathione. You pair that with zinc, vitamin A, vitamin D, and that's why I personally, just as a private citizen, not even as a worker for CV Sciences, why I'm personally excited to take this CV Defense.
So it makes sense. People concerned about their immune system, people prone to upper respiratory tract infections, people who get sick a lot, like us medical care workers. Maybe people who have compromised immune systems. It would make sense then to take a formula to support their immune system long term, and then have a formula on hand should you come down with a type of infection like an upper respiratory tract infection. Of course, we're always qualifying, check with your doctor, make sure you know what's going on with you. But that strategy seems to make a lot of sense.
I believe so. And especially when you start to integrate that with products such as probiotics, omega-3 fish oils. I take quercetin every day, and then I take CBD every day, just again, to manage the relationship between my stress and my immune function. And I always try to pair all of the supplements with good lifestyle, good diet, exercise. All of that stuff is so important. The supplements aren't going to be able to do their full job if you're not taking care of other aspects of your health and wellness. And I think about a study that came out recently where it showed that in an elderly population, that just taking a 15-minute walk that had some natural beauty on the path, maybe a mountain, maybe a lake, something like that, had a really restorative effect on the psyche. So that, we really need to kind of look at this from a fully integrated perspective and not just rely on supplements to do all the heavy lifting.
Right, right. So people interested, they can go to CV Sciences website. CV Sciences products, they can order directly, or they can get them from health food stores as well, correct?
Absolutely. And I invite everybody to check out CV Sciences on YouTube. We're going to have a lot of we have a lot of videos for you to check out and continue to learn about these products, but also just health topics in general. And also I want to plug my friend and coworker, Lex. He has this really interesting podcast called The Lex Files, and it goes into some very interesting, almost crazy ideas, certainly some not mainstream stuff. So we're really trying to publish a number of different videos out there that can capture a wide range of interests. So that's why I'm inviting you to check it out.
Excellent. Well, Miles, thanks again for all your time, sharing your valuable experience, information, research on CBD, the immune system, and then what people can do to help themselves better beyond the things they should be doing: proper diet, proper amount of sleep, eating correctly, stress reduction techniques, and then using targeted nutritional formulas that are safe and effective to, again, help them through the season where people need immune support. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stengler. Let's do this again soon.